Good evening, everyone. It is 6:00 p.m. Welcome to our public comment session for May 3rd, 2022. We will be taking public comment on non-agenda items only. If you would like to comment, there are public comment forms over there by the exit door. So far, we have Mr. Franklin Williams.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm still Franklin Williams, and I'm still at 528 West Market Street. I have this strange feeling that I've been here before. But it's been a little while. I think like 2 years and 3 months, or maybe 2 months. I remember the last time I thought I was coming to a council meeting, I hadn't heard the news that City Hall had been closed. And I was going to ask Diana to announce that my friend and neighbor, Michael Miller, who at the time chaired the zoning hearing board, was in the hospital. And when you get the feeling from Diana that she's not happy to see you and she'd like you to leave, you'd better pack your bag and get out. And But I have been in this room, you may recall, in spite of your heavy workload and busy schedule. I've been in this room just about every month since we moved into this building, except for that brief period, I guess, in 2021 when we were having those electronic seances instead of real meetings. The first night we did that was a cold, windy November night, and I actually loved being at home and just being able to hang up the phone instead of going out into the cold, wintry wind. But it soon wore out because I like personal contact. I like to be able to see who is talking to me and take the measure of the person. I'm talking, of course, about the monthly meetings of the zoning hearing board. So I guess that's why I'm a little bit disoriented, because I'm looking in the opposite direction of the direction I'm used to. And it's hard to believe it's been 21 years, and I think we have as good a board as I can recall. Let me recognize them by name. Elsbeth Bupp is vice chair. Some of these people you probably know. Nick Holman, who lives on East Market Street. Adam Nugent, I think, lives up in the Devers area. And Sina Jenkins, and she just recently moved. I forget to where. East York, I believe. So we are fairly diverse and spread out over the city. No, we don't have 2 or 3 members living in the same neighborhood anymore. And we also have as good a zoning officer, I think, as I can remember, Nancy Griffin, who is way overworked. She's also acting planner. I hope we can get her some help soon, Mr. Mayor. And I'm having too much fun to give it up just yet, even though my vision and my hearing is kind of going south. I'm learning from experience what some wise person meant when they said, "If only the young knew, if only the old could." Let me repeat that. If only the young knew, if only the old could. Now, I'd like to think there's an ideal period in middle age when we know a little bit and we still can, but I can't claim to be there anymore. what brings me this evening is not to talk about the zoning hearing board, but or that I'm not as young as I used to be, but a recollection that I had 3 or 4 days ago. I don't know if it's common when you get to my age that you remember things. You remember people. You remember things that happened, hopefully more of them good than bad. And I remembered something that happened over in the building on the square, and it would have been in January of 2012, I reckon, because it was very, very early in Mayor Bracey's first term, very early. And a newspaper article with a nice photograph or a TV news story I caught, where she had gone to an elementary school and sat down in the middle of a whole bunch of beautiful little children and was reading to them. And I just loved that. And it just happened a few evenings later, we met in the hallway outside the meeting room, and I told her, I said, if I had any doubts before, I knew from that we have the right mayor. And of course I got that beautiful warm smile and a handshake, and she thanked me, and I said, no, I mean it. Now for the 8 years that followed, I supported her whenever I could. Once in a while opposed her when I felt I had to. I always tried to make sure that I was opposing a plan or a proposal and not a person. I think I managed to succeed at that. I've always believed that you can disagree without being disagreeable. So that's the way I tried to treat Mayor Bracey. And come to think of it, it's the way I tried to treat Mayor Brenner before her and Mayor Robertson before him. I only met Mayor Oldhouse once or twice. I didn't live in the city yet then. I'm sorry I didn't get to know him better. But I have to tell you, and I thought about bringing the family Bible along in here and taking an oath to tell the truth, since oaths seem to be the major concern at the moment. But I think you know I will try to tell the truth. And the truth is that if any person or group of people had come to me ever in the 8 years that Mayor Bracey was in office, or Mayor Brenner before her, or Mayor Robertson before him, and asked me to get involved in an effort to take them out of office on the grounds that have been used the past 3 or 4 months to remove Mayor Helfrich, I swear on all that I believe in, I would have told them to go down and jump in the creek and not to pollute the air that I'm breathing. And I don't expect, thank you very much, a Nobel Peace Prize or a Good Citizenship Medal or a Medal of Freedom or even a pat on the back for living according to what I view as simply common decency and good citizenship. Thank you.
Up next, we have Ms. Seaton.
Good evening, Council. My name is Stephanie Seaton. I'm a resident of the City of York. I am also the chair for the Human Relations Commission for the City of York. I just wanted to bring to Council's attention, I'm going to keep reiterating that we're in the middle of a housing crisis right now. I myself, even as someone looking for housing on one level for myself and my elderly mother, just how some of the tactics that are being used right now because of the housing crisis. And there are management companies, you have to pay an application fee to even see a unit. Multiple individuals are paying this same application fee for this same unit, when this unit could already have been promised to someone else by a deposit being put on it, but individuals it's still being advertised as available, so people are still paying applications fees. A lot of individuals, I've had seniors call who are on fixed income and are looking for housing and cannot afford to continue to pay application fee after application fee, and in some instances, they aren't being contacted back. No one's answering their call when they call. They are not tech savvy to be on a computer sending messages and things of that nature. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because it's happening right here in our city. There are residents who are looking for housing and cannot afford to keep paying application fees and not hearing back from property managers on the availability of those units. And it would seem, and I'm not saying all property managers, but it would just seem like there's just a racket of it going on right now, where people are really taking advantage of this housing crisis. And just like gas prices get inflated, we've seen the rental unit prices be inflated. We know that there's a lack of affordable housing here in our community. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the answer to it is. What we're doing now is just asking people to come forward with any landlord-tenant issues to call the Human Relations Commission at 717-846-2926, so that we can further investigate these types of issues. They may or may not be discriminatory. Some of them are just bad business practices. Some of them are just fraudulent activities. But we want to be able to compile information on that so that we can address it, because we think everybody has the right to decent and affordable housing, and we don't want to see barriers put in the way by way of exorbitant application costs when you never hear anything back. You pay this $40 or $50 application fee, and they never call you back to let you know, hey, the unit's not available, someone else got it. And then oftentimes, if you try to follow up on your application fee, you don't get an answer. And I've gotten a few of these calls, so I tried to call these management companies myself, and no one ever got back to me, and I called multiple times. So I know it's an issue. I know from my own personal experience it's an issue. I know from those calling the office that it's an issue. So I just wanted to bring to the public's attention that should you encounter these, I know some of the ARPA funds that have been allocated from the administration to the commission is in regard to landlord and tenant issues, and this is certainly a landlord-tenant issue. So we just want to put it out there to the public. If you guys encounter any of your constituents who are having these sort of issues, please let us know, because we do want to look into it and document that. So I just wanted to bring that to council's attention this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on non-agenda items? Hearing none, we will adjourn the public comment session, and we will move to our legislative agenda at 6:15 p.m., we will call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll? Dennis.
Here.
Buckingham.
Here.
Rivera.
Here.
Washington.
Here.
Walker. Here. And if you are able to, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We will now take action on previous meeting minutes from April 19th, 2022, which was our legislative meeting, and April 27th, 2022, which was our committee meeting. Council, are there any corrections, changes that need to be made?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor of approving as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those meeting minutes are approved. I see Commissioner Hoke in the background. Thank you for attending our meeting. We will move on to proclamations, awards, and announcements. We have a presentation from Mrs. Melanie Baldwin, who is our grants coordinator and special projects analyst in regards to ARPA.
She's introduced me already. I don't have to be introduced again. I am here to talk about the American Rescue Plan, give you an update of where we stand with ARPA, which is my other life. And it may not look the same as it usually looks because I wanted to have fun. Today is my birthday, and I needed to have fun since y'all have me here.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So there are going to be 3 areas we're looking at very quickly. What has been done, and then we're going to be looking at, and in that area, we're going to be looking at. Let me get my sheet. It's a brief history and expenses, and then obligations, and then we're going to be looking at where we are. And that's processes and procedures, quarterly reports. So these are things that are a part of ARPA. Where we're going, training, next tranche, and grant workshops. At any time, if you have a question that you can ask me, or it doesn't matter. I'm not really it just doesn't matter. Where we are, so we had 135 applications, 42 were municipal, 93 were public. And municipal means that they were for City Hall and the departments within and around City Hall. And then we have, the current fiscal information is, we received our first tranche on June 7th, 2021. And it was $17,652,353.50. As an aside, I have gotten notification that we'll be receiving our second tranche soon. They haven't given us a date. We had to turn in our April reports our quarterly reports on April 30th. Ours was submitted. Because we have not obligated anything legally yet, and because it was in a different quarter, so nothing had to be reported except for the HRC. But everything else we're doing now will be on the next report. And we've only spent $726,000. And so when we allocate, and one of the things about allocations is there are expenditure categories, and I've given the council them, and the mayor and the staff that needs them. There are 82 of them, and there were 62, now there are 82. And because they've expanded some of them to parse them out, and so when we have our next report, I will be reporting $4,660,810.83, and that is with the public works, fire, business administration, Department of Community and Economic Development. So those are where those allocations are. There's a that the demolition for that one house is there. So all of those things encompass this. Okay, this is the one I like. Where we are. And how we do this is that after you all have approved it and it's been resolved, I have discussed this with finance. They're going to make the budget amendment, add it to the budget within 5 business days so that the programs and projects can be started. And I need to make a clarification. The programs are the actual work, like drug counseling. For me, projects are buying equipment. So I know that I sometimes confuse people because when you say program and it's not a program for you all, it's a project for you all. So I'll try to keep it clear. So the first one, and then we will, each department will have all the information to keep records. And so they have to keep their own records, but I will also have this wonderful, binder that it will have all of their reports because the reports have to be taken because we are dealing with Treasury. And so that is why nothing has been spent as of yet. So the first area is equipment purchase procedure. So some areas of the departments have asked just for equipment. They're not asking for a program for their area. They're asking for equipment for the area. So for instance, if there is a electronic planning table that the planning department asked for. So once they go to OpenGov training for policies and procedures, and the policies and procedures for both are the same. I just parse them out. There's a completed application they have to fill out. They have to sign a sub-recipient agreement. And in that agreement, it talks about if they're legal and things of that nature. That's more for outside ones, but we need to use it for the inside ones as well. They will also have to know, they will get, once the item is purchased, they have to report submitted items and they must be retained. We cannot get rid of any of the items, the electric planning table for 5 years. We have to keep it for 5 years. After the 5 years are over, 2026, after that is over, then whatever you want to plan it on, it's fine. One of the things that is also important in the reports, you will have a deadline. Every person has a deadline for when they have to submit a report, and that's usually 2 weeks before I have to submit to Treasury. And so I have to submit to Treasury every quarter. So that is one of the issues that we make sure that everyone understands. If you don't submit, I can't submit, and then I get to come live with you and make you submit. I don't know what's going to happen, but okay, I need to do that. Then there are program procedures, which are for the programs, such as whatever the, I'll give you an example of a program, the police cadet program. That's an actual program. And so they have to do the same training for OpenGov. One of the reasons they have to do training for OpenGov is that everyone is responsible for putting their own information in. So technically, and when thinking about this, I was talking to another ARPA person, and it is it makes more sense for you to do your data clerk to get trained, or a person who's going to actually be able to put the information in, unless you as the chair or the supervisor wants to be responsible for putting everything in. And it's a lot. So we can have a discussion about it, but I would encourage you to have not you be the responsible person of the ARPA input. So with the program forms, they have to be completed and approved, the program procedures. So I've gotten information from your first application, but I need more detailed information for your program completion. And so, for example, when are you starting? There's going to be not the 5-year budget, but the year budget of what you're going to be doing. And the reason I need these things is because if there's an audit, I need to know where we stand. Also, if there is something that is ineligible, I need to make sure I stop it before it gets to the requisitions and invoices. So that is the most important thing about that. And then they have the same trainings and report schedules. Where are we going? And so where are we going is because technically I forgot R because it was late at night. Anyway, award, the award is each participant will receive a letter. So each participant who is either, if you got funded, and we're doing the municipal ones at this present time. So if you got funded, you probably had a conversation with me. I just need to send you a letter for documentation. That is just for that. When we get to doing the public, it'll be a little bit different. Training, awarded participants will attend a scheduled training, and those trainings are May 10th for equipment and May 18th for programs, both at 6 o'clock, and those are for the equipment that you've already been notified or heard about in your resolutions. So if it's not done in a resolution, not passed by council, you do not need to show up. But if it is something that Cliff, he is getting some program equipment for White Rose. And so therefore, he needs to come in and we probably can work something out. I think there's only about 7 people getting equipment and we can probably work something out. But that May 10th is equipment and May 18th are the programs. And so the police cadet program, the GVI, Credible Messenger, all of those things. Those are those programs. Reports and schedules, and I keep on putting, I know, you're like, why do you keep putting the reports and schedules? Reports and schedules, there is a schedule of how things are run and needed. And so you will get all of that information in your handy dandy manual. There is a ARPA manual that I've developed based on some of the other areas and other ARPA sites, and that has our debarment and things of that nature. I asked about a debarment, and debarment is if we have agencies that are unacceptable or cannot or suspended or barred from doing business, we have to check with everybody. So there's a database we put them in to make sure that they are free and clear of any tax fraud, any of that nature, because we cannot work with them. So that's what we have to do with all of our vendors. And then grant workshops. This is the added part, and this is probably more for when we go to the public parts. And that is because some people will not be funded not because they didn't write the grant, because the grant does not fit the requirements. And so in that vein, the other side of that is, since I get grants all of the time, is to do sort of like, it's maybe a lunch and learn or maybe an evening to come in and we will talk about grants and all those kinds of things for people who would like to know and want that information. So that is one of the asides of the ARPA process. Oh. And that's it. Are there any questions?
So to my understanding from what you're saying, well, let me ask this. For any of the funding that was appropriated, has the municipal departments, are there designees? So for the police department, is there a contact?
There's only 2 contacts, and I do not know how they're going to do their procedures. I don't know if they're going to have one for all of them or 1 or 2 for 2 or 3 of them. Mm-hmm. I have not. One of the things that I attempt not to do is run a program. However, I do make suggestions and they're not all starting at the same time. It is my recommendation that no one start everything all at the same time. It will drive you nuts, number 1. And number 2, you need to make sure that you're succinct in what you do. Just because this is Treasury, it's federal dollars. We need to make sure that people are able to understand that these are federal dollars and how that works. This is a little bit different than a regular grant that we would do. So
all the internal sub-recipients, are they supposed to follow up with you in regards to who will be attending this training?
I am sending them a letter probably on Thursday. I wanted to present it to you all first before I attempt to go in protocol order. And one of the things is I attempt not to put the cart before the horse. And so I hadn't told you about it yet, so why would I tell them? So you will probably get a email copy of what the letter looks like. You won't get all of their letters, but what the email looks like, just like the mayor and the business administration will get a copy.
And so once they attend the trainings, when does the agreement come into place that they have to
They
sign?
do it at that date. On
Okay.
that date, when you attend the training, you're going to get the information for your program or project worksheet. And so the program or project worksheet is actually, all of these things are in OpenGov. And so they will be going to the OpenGov site and putting their own things in. They will have their own number to put things in. So they will not be giving me any paper, period. And after we have a subrecipient agreement, which is 18 pages long, which the wonderful Jason reviewed, and it is 18 pages about what you can and can't do. And those are the stipulations that we have. And then you get a training schedule, and then that's it.
And as of now, you would be responsible for making sure that they are
Yes.
in line.
Yes.
And that's feasible?
It's feasible on most days. I would like, it is feasible on most days just because I prioritize differently. Besides being the ARPA person, I also have other grants for the city. So at this present time, I have 4 other grants for the city that I will be writing with department chairs, as well as 2 others that I want to write. So when I say I prioritize, so if you don't see me in the morning, it's because I'm at home writing. And if I come in the afternoon, I need to make sure that I have touched everybody who needs to be in the other grants. ARPA, and when I say this, I don't want you to take it the wrong way. ARPA is not as difficult as people make it. I think what people do sometimes is overthink it. And the overthinking part of it is that you don't really look at the expenditure categories or ECs. And if you don't understand what they are, you sort of try to make it into whatever you want it to be. And that can't be done. And so the last set of ECs we got was everything. April 22nd was the last one, and April 22nd was the performance. So I get things from Treasury all the time when they update something or want us to know something.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any questions or comments from council?
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to our upcoming meetings. Our next legislative meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 at 6:00 p.m. due to Election Day. All agenda items are due by 12 noon on May 11th. Our next committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022 at 6:00 p.m. in council chambers. Agenda items are due by 12 noon on May 18th. Status of prior committee referrals. They are listed there. This is my first. All right, moving on to our legislative agenda. We are discussing subdivision land development in Harb. Up first, we have a resolution accepting the recommendations of Harb.
So introduced.
Resolution number 52, introduced by Felicia Dennis. Be it resolved that council hereby approves a certificate of appropriateness to be certified to and forwarded by the clerk to the building inspector, who is authorized to issue permits for work to be covered in the applications as recommended by Harb. Applications for 475 West Philadelphia, 470 West Market, 45 East King, 50 North Duke Street, 53 South Newberry, 320 East Market, 634 South George, 241 East King, and 151 West Market Street.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, that is so ordered. Moving on to resolution number 53, accepting the recommendations of HARB.
Madam President, I received a phone call from the applicant at 319 through 335 North George Street, and she asked that this be deferred to the May 18th meeting where she'll be able to attend and discuss. And with that said, I would request an amendment to remove agenda item number 2. I'm sorry, not agenda item number 2, number 2 of resolution number 215. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm thinking. The resolution number 53, if we can remove item number 2 of that resolution. Is there a motion to remove that and defer to the May 18th meeting?
I move to remove it. Is that the 319 through to 335 North George Street?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is removed, so we just have the 311 Reineke Place, and it was introduced by Councilman Rivera.
And that is resolution number 53, which was introduced by Lou Rivera. Be it resolved that council hereby denies a certificate of appropriateness for work to be done in the application as recommended by HARB for the application filed for work to be done at 311 Reineke Place.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, that is so ordered. Moving on to final passage of bills and resolutions. We have final passage of Bill number 28.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded.
And that is resolution, that's bill number 28, which was introduced by Queen of Washington at the April 19th meeting, amending the Bureau of Health budget for 2022 in the amount of $348,494.53 for the County of York Department of Human Services Children, Youth, and Families Agency grant.
Any questions or comments from council?
No. None.
Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
And that is Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, that is so ordered. Moving on to final passage of Bill number 29.
Move to approve.
Second.
And that's bill number 29, which was introduced by Queen of Washington at the April 15th meeting of council, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022 budget for the police department, the fire department, the health department, and economic and community development.
Any questions or comments from council?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, that is so ordered. Moving on to new business. First, we have an introduction of, I believe that would be Bill number 30,
Correct.
amending the financial year 2022 budget.
So introduced.
Bill number 30, introduced by Queen of Washington, a bill amending the police department amending the budget for the police department for 2022 by appropriating revenue and expenditures for a justice assistance grant for the period of October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2024, in the amount of $50,532.
That will sit until May 18th. Moving on to another introduction of Bill number 31, adopting rules and regulations.
So introduced.
Bill number 31, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, a bill adopting rules and regulations pertaining to the wastewater collection, conveyance, treatment, and disposal service, providing for implementation and enforcement of the same, rescinding inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, and stating the effective date.
That will sit until May 18th. Up next, we have introduction of Bill number 32.
Bill number 32, introduced by Lou Rivera, a bill amending Article 16507, residency requirements of the codified ordinances to expand residency area to York County or any contiguous county to York County. I see there's a little typo there. And that's Adams, Cumberland, Dauphin, Lancaster, Hartford, Baltimore, and Carroll counties.
That will sit until May 18th. Moving on to introduction of Bill number 33.
So introduced.
Bill number 33, introduced by Queen of Washington, a bill amending Article 185, Human Relations of the Codified Ordinances to include definitions of hairstyles and prohibit race-based discrimination based on hair texture and protective hairstyles.
That will sit until our May 18th meeting. Moving on to resolution number 54, authorizing a budget transfer.
And that item was pulled from the agenda at the request of the administration.
That's right here on my notes. That item was pulled from the agenda at request of the administration. So moving on to our next resolution, which will be authorizing the submission of a proposal for in-kind donation.
So introduced.
Is there a motion to introduce by short title?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Resolution number 54, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, a resolution to the City of York authorizing the submission of a proposal for in-kind donation of the use of Penn Market via the Redevelopment Authority as the 25% match for the local food promotion program grant of $100,000.
Move for a vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
No.
Well, since our grants coordinator and special project analyst is here, do you want to just talk about all of these?
Good evening once again. These three grants, or am I talking about 10, 11, 12? I can do that.
So you don't have to get up. You can
Oh,
just
okay,
take
okay.
care of all of them.
Okay, so all of these grants need a match, and which is why we're bringing them to you. So they're small matches. I will be using ARPA funds, which are allowed to do matches. I have made a couple of suggestions at times about doing a match fund because we have things that need matches. It's neither here nor there. The DCNR one is, in talking with Chaz Green, it is for the Greenway. It's the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program, and it's going to be used for the Broad Street Greenway. I think that's what it is. And so they're not. The other two grants are for education of the some of the vendors at Penn Market, and the other one is the same thing, but for those who do farmers markets, and trying to get them into more business ready. So those are what the grants are about.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis?
Yes.
Buckingham?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes. And that's so ordered. Moving on to our next resolution, authorizing the submission of a proposal for in-kind donation.
Is there a motion to read by short title?
I make a motion to read by short title.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Resolution number 55, introduced by,
So
I'm
introduced.
sorry. I just realized you didn't do
So
that.
introduced.
Yeah, okay. Resolution number 55, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, a resolution authorizing the submission of a proposal for in-kind donation for the use of Penn Market via the Redevelopment Authority as the 25% match for the Farmers Market Promotion Program grant in the amount of $250,000.
Any, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Call for vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. That is so ordered. Moving on to resolution authorizing the submission of a proposal for funds for DCNR.
So introduced.
Is there a motion to introduce by short title?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Resolution number 56, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, a resolution authorizing the submission of a proposal for funds in the amount of $250,000 with the match provided from ARPA of $37,500 for the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant provided through the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources.
Call for vote.
Second.
That's a motion and has been seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, and that is so ordered. Moving on to our last resolution, authorizing a letter of intent to purchase the Densified College Avenue campus.
So introduced.
Resolution 57, introduced by Queen of Washington, whereas the Densified International property is known as Densified College Avenue campus located on West College Avenue, owned by Densified International, and all this other stuff, as identified in 2022 offering memorandum issued by Cushman and Wakefield, comprising of 30 parcels and totaling 17.38 acres. And whereas the seller is receiving offers on the property, which are to be submitted by May 6th, and whereas the property is valuable to the city because ownership and control of the property will allow the city to ensure that appropriate redevelopment and adaptive reuse occurs, which best serves our citizens, and whereas said purchase and redevelopment would be the benefit of the citizens of York, and whereas a letter of intent to purchase, if accepted by the seller, will allow the seller and the city to enter into negotiations of an agreement of sale, and whereas the letter of intent to purchase, if accepted by the seller, will enable the city to receive specific information about the property and perform due diligence activities about the property. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorizes the mayor and the controller to execute and submit to the seller a letter of intent to purchase in an amount not to exceed $4 million.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
No. None.
We discussed this in length during our committee meeting, but Mayor, did you have anything?
Well, I just wanted to add, since a couple of the council members were not available this morning, that we had a discussion. I think the last discussion we had was really about the use of ARPA funding for this. And this resolution does not include any funding stream. So it is a letter of intent basically for us to then later discuss how this could be funded. Certainly one of the possible and possibly even better choices would be the use of the wastewater treatment plant sale funding. This would not then impact our ARPA funding, but would also utilize money that we could then invest in economic development, as some people in the community had asked us to do with some of that money. Then we could get the return, and then utilize that money for other purpose such as adding to the pension and healthcare support fund that it is certainly my intention to support. So that way we don't put any kind of ARPA funding at risk, and even though I believe there is virtually no risk to it, but we can utilize a different source of funding that is not specifically for the improvement of the community based on the effects of COVID. So again, this does not encumber the city with the purchase of the property. It shows that we are giving an intent to do our due diligence to determine if this is a purchase for us. Is that an accurate way to say that, Blanda? Thank you.
I know there was a lot of discussion last week. Are there any updates as it pertains, Blanda, to the property? You're trying to hide back there. I'm sorry, buddy.
Good evening. Blandon Ace, Chief Opportunity Development Officer. And I'm sorry, your question, are there any updates? We did do a tour, site visit yesterday with the broker, a representative of Densified. Some of the council members were able to attend, Director of Economic Development, our zoning officer, and one of the RDA, actually the RDA chair. So we had a nice team to walk through the entire parcel. Probably my 5th or 6th time through. I find something new every time. There's no real update from the transactional side of things. I did have a meeting yesterday also with the local broker who has offered to review the letter of intent and offer his suggestions about purchase price and the value of the ability of the city to close on a deal or negotiate a deal quicker than a private developer would be able to. So he's going to offer that feedback to the mayor and myself and to Nona this week yet, so that we can drill down a little bit. As you notice, the resolution is not to exceed $4 million. The price that the broker continues to say is $3 to $5 million, which is a really large range. So as we had discussed at the committee meeting, this is kind of an odd situation where someone is putting a property out there on the market without a price. They're asking for people to feedback. So I think we'll have a solid offer or a letter of intent, which, as the mayor referenced, would allow us then to receive additional information to do some continued necessary due diligence on the property and start to negotiate the terms of a sales agreement.
Thank you.
Any other questions while I'm up? That's what I figured. That's why.
No, thank you, and thank you for scheduling that tour. It was good to actually see inside the building. Growing up in the West End, never was inside the building, so it was a lot of steps for us that walked all the way through, but it was good to see. So thank you for scheduling that walkthrough. Any questions or comments from the public? Hey. Oh.
Manuel Gomez, York City. We're just going to have to differ in terms of risk and how we are risk averse or we're not risk averse. I think it's risky and very speculative. I can only go back on actions and what I've seen the RDA do in the past. Again, many elements that one can point out as to how the RDA conducts business and how it's impacted the city in terms of redevelopment, accessibility, affordability. Pullman, the Pullman apartments comes to mind. That's one where we gave a grant or a loan decades ago to a chosen developer. Developer ended up taking out a note on this Pullman project, never paid on it. Fast forward some years and the Pullman apartments were set to go to foreclosure. The developer just decided to walk on them. The city stepped in, and we heard a lot of what we're hearing now. We have to control the Pullman apartments. We have to step in. We'll get a return. And I remember specifically, mostly being at odds with the mayor, now mayor, who at time was at council, because he, very similar to this project, said that it was not a risky endeavor, said that we would collect and we would gain on the return and we would then reinvest. Fast forward everything, not to belabor you with all the details, but a property that they told us they would sell for upwards of $700,000, and they said at worst case scenario, and anybody can look this up, they would sell it for maybe a little bit less, $400,000 or $500,000, so for $238,000, thereabouts, to a pet developer. The low-income housing that existed at the time, which, by the way, we just had a wonderful fair housing symposium. We talked about the dire straits economically in terms of the housing sector itself here in York, and not just in York, but we're talking about city affairs specifically. The low-income housing tenants that were there, they didn't necessarily evict them because, of course, they were very careful in the wording that they proposed when these projects were at play and before the table. They said, we'll honor their lease. Well, of course you will. Of course, after the lease was over, there were no additional housing units added. Those low income, and I believe there was an age restriction attached to it, but that may not be the case. I just do somehow recall it was older tenants. But they were definitely low income housing. That's gone. It's now market rate, probably about $1,000 for 600-700 square feet, right there across the street from the stadium on George Street. They said it was also going to be part of a gateway project where this pet developer was going to partner with them on the bank building. That didn't happen. So we've heard a lot of promises. We've seen a lot of forecasts. We've seen a lot of projections. But these numbers, they're pulled out of thin air. They're pulled out of thin air. That's when you hear me speak about risk, there's a reason. The RDA can do things only a certain way. It might have a claw hammer and it might have a sledgehammer, but that's all it has is hammers. It's not nimble, it's not adaptive, and let me tell you something, it's not as simple as sometimes it's brought to you and the way that they make it seem. Because the way that they control land and land usage through the use of reverter clauses and deed restrictions allows them to touch the property once and determine the usage and the control of that property many times in perpetuity. Those restrictions just run with the land. What that means for us as a people is not a good thing, and I'll just leave it there. Do your due diligence. The letter of intent is one thing, but just make sure you do your due diligence as you move forward with this project, and be very, very careful with any business forecasts and projections that are made and given to you, okay? Very, very careful. You have history to stand on and look at, and some of this is very recent history. I know that we suffer from almost a collective dementia when it comes to city affairs. I don't have that problem. They talked about recollections earlier. Most of my recollections when it comes to RDA and city business, they're not good ones. They're not good ones. They have a poor track record. I can't walk into a bank building, and neither can any of you, and simply cast a spell with good words and tell a good story and walk out with a note. That's just not how it works. There's other general dynamics at play, the market itself, and there's due diligence at hand, and what's your actual credit worthiness? And I wouldn't say that the RDA or the city itself is in good standing.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. And that is so ordered. No request for future meetings. Is there any council comment?
No.
Administration comment?
Yes, I just wanted to first comment on the weekend around the city of this weekend around the city of York. There's so much going on. I hope to see everybody. So much stuff for First Friday. African American First Friday is back I'm blanking on it. Is Ms. Ellens?
Sarah Ellen.
Sarah
event venue.
Ellens. Sarah Ellens, at 324 West Market Street, and also activity and fundraiser Veg Fest for humane treatment of animals is in Royal Square District. All sorts of activity downtown. Then for Mother's Day, while we will not be having the traditional Mother's Day street fair this year, my girlfriend's wardrobe has organized activities and the closure of Beaver Street, so kind of like a First Friday, but on Mother's Day afternoon this Sunday. Happy Mother's Day, all mothers and everyone. So there's lots of great stuff going on, and of course, Give Local York. This is one of the most important days of the year for York County. This is where we really show our spirit and how much we support the organizations that support us. There's something for everybody out there. If you care about business, if you care about people in the neighborhoods, if you care about cats and dogs, if you care about, doesn't matter what it is, there's somebody out there trying to benefit our community, and you can find a partner on Friday. Giving starts at midnight, so the morning of Friday, 12:01, and it goes the whole way through till midnight. And then there's also activities at the Rev Stadium that evening, because the Rev Stadium have let Give Local York be their home base for the, that wasn't meant to be a pun, but meant to be a home base for the collection for that day for Give Local York on Friday. So I think I got most of the great stuff going on this weekend, but I also wanted to apologize and thank council. As we talked this morning, we have sometimes we have our differences in thinking or in how we think things should be running, and what is your role and what is my role and things like that. And so that kind of stuff really shouldn't be a public debate or argument, and I certainly let it get that way at our committee meeting. So I appreciate the conversation that we had this morning, and I think we can get much better in line with that kind of communication in understanding what your expectations are of the administration when we come, and what we hope to hear from City Council, so that we can be prepared to answer your questions. So I just wanted to thank you, and again, apologize.
Thank you. As always, look forward to moving forward. I had two things. First was this Monday with the Commissioner Muldrow's update. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I know Councilwoman Buckingham was at that meeting. I don't know if you want to say anything in regards to that, but we had some discussion before the meeting, and I thought it would be helpful.
So it was really great. It was a drone demonstration. And there's been a lot of conversation. I was disappointed that more folks weren't there. I'm not speaking about council, just in general. But Captain Akey and Lieutenant Dan Lentz were there. Captain Akey, and I think you can find this on Facebook. You can see the demonstration, and he reviewed the uses, the non-uses, gave specifics about the drones. Again, how they would be used, how they wouldn't be used, and then we went outside for a demonstration, and it was great. It was very enlightening, and we actually got to manipulate the drone, operate the drone, including a little second grader from the neighborhood who came by and was. I would recommend watching it on Facebook. This tool that the police department hopes to be able to engage.
Thank you. I do look forward to some policy-driven discussion in regards to that. The mayor and I did talk about this, and so for the community as well, if you have input in regards to this, we please forward that to us as council members, because we do want to hear your thoughts in regards to this. Like I said, I did not get a chance to watch the video update yet on Facebook, but I look forward to reviewing it once I get a chance. And then also for voting, I don't want to put Commissioner Hoke on the spot, but if you're here, it's very, very rare that we get a chance to actually, attend each other's meetings. So for voting, did you want to say anything about the actual drop-off ballot, that it's not, you don't have a drop box, but you are accepting drive-up ballots to drop off? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to, since you're here. Thank you.
Doug Hope, York County Commissioner, and also a resident of the city. I'm very proud of it. I know there was an article in the paper this morning about the drop box. We all know that Act 77 that put in place mail-in voting is in effect, and the drop box that we had in the front part of our building, when you come in the front doors of the administration building, was there for the last 2 years for drop-offs. And there is some problems with people coming in and casting 2 ballots or more than just their own ballot, which is under the law not legal. And because of that situation, we are having staffing problems with our elections office. It's hard to get employees right now. So we don't have the manpower to actually man the drop box in the lobby area. So it is downstairs in the election office. You still can come in and drop off your ballot there. We will have a drop box out on the street on Saturday, the week before the election, and Sunday, the weekend right before the election, and all day election day, people can drive by and drop off their box election. So we encourage people to vote. You know, it's an important election this year, like every election, but we're doing our best. The time constraints for the election, the whole process was really messed up this year because of court cases and other things, people on the ballot being taken off. So it was a hectic year, but I think our election office is in gear, and I think we're going to have a good election with election integrity and security. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Commissioner, can I get a follow-up question while we got you? We did get some polling locations moved this year, correct? Do you know, in the city, the
Yes.
polls did end up moved for this election.
Yes.
So I believe the YMCA, former
now over at the
YMCA
Appel
is now at the Appel Center, and there is another that is at the Appel Center. Is it Good School, maybe?
I think it's Good School, yeah.
Good
They were going
School.
to go to the stadium, and the stadium could not handle it.
Yeah, so Good School and YMCA are now at the Appel Center, and you can get a voucher for parking at the Philadelphia Street parking garage. So if you're coming down to vote, go ahead and park in the Philadelphia Street parking garage, and then with your I voted sticker, you will also get a voucher to make sure that you get free parking for voting. And then also, did United Way, did they move
I think they did, yeah. There was a lot of moves.
over to Good School?
Yeah, I don't have the list in front of me, but everything's in place right now, and I know when we made those
Okay.
decisions.
And
the
you sent
board
out
elections-
announcements to the
Yes,
voters of the
yes.
city. Yeah, the
Everybody
county
would've
sent out
got it.
announcements, but also perhaps press folks that are here, maybe you want to run another story on the fact that some polling places moved. I'd really appreciate that to help get it out to the community.
Okay.
Thank you very much. One more thing. This week is Municipal Clerks Week. So at this time, we would like to recognize our lovely clerk. Thank you.
I didn't even know it was Clerk Week, so I'm like,
Oh, well, we look things
made that
up.
up.
So we just, on behalf of all of council, we want to thank you for all of your work that you do. A lot of times, folks don't really know all the work that you do put in. So we get to see it firsthand with you and your position. So thank you so much for all that you do. So we got you a lovely card to 2 of your favorite places.
Wow, I was talking so much trash before the meeting.
And your favorite gummy bears.
Oh, horrible.
Did you guys want to say anything? Did
Yeah,
council want to say
horrible
anything?
Gummy bears, they're my favorite. Thank you, council, thank you. I enjoy my job. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. And I've seen a couple of you come through, a couple of mayors come through, a couple of solicitors come through. But I've always had a good relationship with all of you. And you are my second family, all of you. And I appreciate you in my lives, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me over the years as well. So thank you very much.
Ooh. And with that being said, that adjourns our legislative meeting for today. Have a good night, everyone.